Terrifying true stories behind Hollywood's scariest horror movies. The fairy tale is true. The devil exists. The Conjuring. Over the years, audiences have been frightened by the varied horror films on screen. And, while after some jump scares, these audiences can be reminded it's only a film. However, things can take a dark turn when it's discovered the stories are actually based on real-life events. Whether being terrorized by a knife-wielding killer or possessed by a demonic spirit, a variety of real-life crimes and events acted as inspiration for filmmakers and screenwriters who brought scary tales to life on screen. From the 2013 film The Conjuring to the inspiration of 2006's The Hills Have Eyes, let's check out these myths and horror movies based on true stories, if you dare. The Conjuring. The real-life hauntings that inspired 2013's The Conjuring and 2015's The Conjuring 2 are so terrifying that it seems like only Hollywood writers could have created them. And indeed, we may wish that was the case, but it isn't. The film franchise is based on the horrifying true experiences of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed was a self-proclaimed demonologist, and his wife Lorraine claimed to be a medium who could communicate with demons that her husband located. The couple gained a pretty robust clientele after they established the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952. In fact, one of their most famous cases of demonic possessions became the basis for the 2013 film. Allegedly, the house had been in the same family for 8 generations, and a great number of them died under suspicious circumstances. One of the most horrible spirits, Bathsheba, was depicted in the film. It turns out that she was a real person and Satanist who lived on the property in the mid-1800s. The Perron family believed that the spirit of Bathsheba tormented their family. Over a decade-long period, the Warrens visited the home multiple times. But during one seance performed by Lorraine, the Perron children's mother, Carolyn, became possessed. She rose from the ground and spoke in a demonic voice and tongue. The family reportedly remained in the house despite the hauntings until the 80s. Once they moved, the possessions and strange things going on ended. The Warrens had a similar experience with the Hodgson family in England in the late 1970s. These visits provided further inspiration for the Conjuring franchise's second film. The family reported that their furniture was inexplicably moved without being touched, that objects flew around the room of their own volition, and that odd noises would sound throughout the home. The haunting spontaneously ended just 2 years after they had begun, and the family had no explanation for this. The Exorcist. Is there someone inside you? It's certainly a haunting question for a certified professional to ask someone, especially a little kid. The true story behind 1973's The Exorcist begins in the late 1940s with a 13-year-old boy referred to as Roland Doe. The boy's actual name is unknown. After the death of his beloved aunt, Doe began to experience odd situations. His mattress would move, a mysterious liquid dripped from the walls, and scratching noises came from the floor of his room. His worried parents enlisted the help of a local priest to perform an exorcism on their son. However, the exorcism was never completed because Doe slashed the priest with the spring from his mattress. Doe's parents then took him from their home in Maryland to St. Louis for another exorcism, where mysterious scratches appeared on Doe's body and his mattress moved violently. The priest also noticed that Doe would enter trance-like states and speak in a guttural voice. They claimed that objects flew around the room, and the boy would have extremely violent reactions when faced with a sacred object. At one point during Doe's possession, an X was mysteriously carved into Doe's chest, leading the priest to believe that he was possessed by 10 demons. One final exorcism took place a few weeks later at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, and this time it was successful. After coming out of his trance, Doe simply said, "He's gone." Some plot points in The Exorcist were embellished. For example, Doe's head never spun around and he never vomited green matter. But the heart of the story is, nevertheless, true. Annabelle. What is it about children's toys that can be so terrifying? For the creepy, true story behind 2014's horror flick Annabelle, you need only to turn to two familiar sources, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The couple evaluated the doll after its 28-year-old owner suspected that something was terribly wrong with it. The woman had received the doll as a gift and noticed that it started to change positions on its own. She and her roommate then began to see mysterious notes written on paper that they didn't keep in the house and that said things like, "Help me, help us." Once the doll began to leak blood and pop up in different rooms of their house, the woman called a medium. The medium told them that the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins was occupying the doll. "Looks are deceiving," Lorraine Warren told USA Today in 2017. "It's not what the doll looks like that makes it scary. It is what has been infused within the doll. Evil." The Warrens agreed with the medium and said that an inhuman presence possessed the doll and was looking for a human host. They sprinkled holy water on the doll and placed her safely inside a glass case in their occult museum with a sign that warns anyone against touching the innocent-looking doll. The mythic Slender Man. One forum user created the Slender Man after he answered a call for creepy photographs. He combined photos as a tall and skinny man with no face who wears a suit. His arms are abnormally long and sometimes are shown to be in multiples or like tentacles. Even though the Slender Man is a fictional myth, real-life blood has been shed because of him. In 2014, a 12-year-old girl in Wisconsin was stabbed 19 times by her friends in an attempted murder. Their motive for the attack? To please the Slender Man. Other violent attacks carried out to please the Slender Man included a 2014 stabbing, where a woman was attacked by her 13-year-old daughter dressed in a hoodie and wearing a blank white face mask. Then, a 14-year-old girl in Florida started a fire in her house after she read a bunch of materials on the Slender Man. Open Water. The film is loosely based on the true story of Tom and Eileen Lonergan, who in 1998 went out with the scuba diving group Outer Edge Dive Company on the Great Barrier Reef and were accidentally left behind because the dive boat crew failed to take an accurate head count. Some of their diving gear was found washed up on shore, as well as a note from the couple written on a diving slate which said, "To anyone who can help us, we have been abandoned on Agincourt Reef, 25 January 1998, 03 p.m. Please help us. Come rescue us before we die. Help." The Lonergans' bodies were never found, and many people speculate that they most likely died from dehydration, drowning, or shark attack. This idea that it could happen to anyone is what made theater-goers so afraid, and the fact that it is based on a real story compounds the terror. The Butcher of Plainfield, Ed Gein. Gein's demented use of human body parts and his unusual relationship with his mother were used as inspiration for Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Norman Bates in Psycho, and most of all, Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. Indeed, 3 of the most iconic and terrifying horror movies based on true stories are all loosely related to one demented murderer, Ed Gein. Gein was known as a shy and strange child, partly due to his mother's treatment of him and his brother. She often confined them to their farm, read to them from the Bible, and taught them that the world is inherently evil. His brother died under suspicious circumstances. Gein was 38, and shortly after, his mother passed as well, leaving Gein to turn their farm into the creepy house of horrors that he dreamed of. When a local hardware store owner went missing, police had enough evidence to search Gein's home. The carnage that they found shocked everyone. There were skulls impaled on the posts of his bed, kitchen utensils made from bones, and household items like chairs and a wastebasket made from human skin. They also found leggings made from human skin, masks made from faces, a belt made out of nipples, a lampshade made from a face, and countless other horrors. Gein admitted to murdering the hardware store owner and to visiting the local graveyard to exhume the bodies to use for his demented experiments. He also revealed his motive behind his crimes. He said that after his mother died, he began to create a woman's suit so he could become his mother and crawl into her skin. This is one case where the reality of horror movies based on true stories is undoubtedly scarier than the true Hollywood version. The Hills Have Eyes. For the inspiration of 2006's The Hills Have Eyes, Craven admitted that he drew inspiration from the legend of Sawney Bean, the mythical leader of a cannibalistic cult. Sawney Bean was believed to have lived in a cave in remote Scotland, with close to 50 family members, including over a dozen children from his union with Agnes Douglas and a dozen grandchildren, mostly born of incest. The family survived on murder and cannibalism. The legends say that they would target and ambush lone travelers, killing them and feasting on their flesh. Bean and his legendary cannibal army lived isolated in their cave until a failed ambush led local authorities to discover their hideaway and capture the entire family. By the end of their decades-long murder spree, the numbers of victims was said to be in the hundreds. Each member of the Bean family was eventually sentenced to a slow and grisly death. However, the legend of Sawney Bean lives on through the power of horror movies. What horror movies based on true events were too scary for you to finish? Share your thoughts and leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. Thanks for watching.